Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast. My name is Catherine Tindall. I'm one of the CPAs here at Dominion. We're a specialty tax and accounting firm for financial advisors. And on today's episode, I have with me Kevin Thompson. I've been kind of circling around and seeing you on LinkedIn a lot and just love your story. So Kevin is a CFP, RICP, and he's an EA. So we're not going to nerd on tax stuff, I promise. And he's a former MLB player for the New York Yankees and Oakland A's who transitioned into the financial services industry after his baseball career. He specializes in comprehensive financial planning and advanced tax strategies. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on today, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Don't you bring up the Yankees right now, because I know you want to. I know. Yeah, we lost. Yeah, we lost. It's okay.
And I won't mention like I'm a Boston.
You know what? This show's over. See you later.
And that's a wrap. No, I'm unfortunately not very sporty. Being a New Englander, I think that's probably a capital offense, but
definitely.
Whatever.
You guys had a good run there with the Patriots and everything. I'm shocked.
Oh, yeah.
Really, Celtics, Patriots, the Red Sox. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know why the New England sports thing is so. And maybe just we have to spend so much time inside, but I don't know. But so I'd love to just dive right in with talking about how small growing RIAs can compete in today's environment. Mm-hmm. It's something I've been seeing a marked increase of people going RIA just on the client side. We've had a number of practices go RIA, and a lot of people approach me for tax work because they're going RIA and the complexity there. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your experience and just having a conversation around some of the things you've been noticing and what's been working and, where you've been seeing people fall short.
Yeah. So I had this talk at the Future Proof Festival just recently about how small RIAs can compete in this environment, because what you're seeing is the consolidation of the industry where PE firms are coming in, buying up larger firms. And I've always said this, I'm saying it now. I'm saying, well, I just ran from an industry where I didn't want to be in a broker dealer or a space where I didn't necessarily own my book of business. I don't want to go into this newfound horizon where, I'm back to where I started. Right. So
yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where we're headed, because these big places are getting larger. But again, I hope that's not the case. But how we can benefit as smaller RIAs is that being smaller, we have the agility to do things where we could start moving more quickly. Think about it this way: at a smaller firm, whether you have more of a bespoke process where it's just hands-on. If I want to implement a technology, I don't have to go through layers and layers of compliance to implement this technology. If I want to get rid of something, I don't have to go through layers and layers of compliance and having everybody get off of this certain system. So you have the ability to be flexible, especially in this new world where technology is so plentiful. I mean,
yes,
you have the wealth.coms of the world, they get the estate planning stuff. I'm assuming we have Holistiplan, and on the tax planning side, you can implement all these different things for your clientele on a case-by-case basis, or you can hone in to where you can have 3 or 4 different pieces of technology without having a whole host of people saying, well, I like e-money, well, I like Wealthfront, or I like this or like that. No, man, this is hey, I have a couple of different things I like to use, and technology adoption makes it very, very easy to do that on a smaller firm and a smaller scale. Now, from a client experience perspective, from a smaller firm, you don't have to go into this place where you're adopting someone else's ideas around how you should plan, their workflows and stuff like that. If you want to do that, that's fine. Me, I'm more of I like my autonomy. I like to be able to switch and move, stick and move, and do things differently. Yeah. So I really truly believe each client's different. And just because it says you start here with the insurance side and you go to the protections and this, that, and the other, and this, not every client's that way. And I like to be able to be very, I guess, I like to change depending on the client situation. So from an RIA perspective, on a small scale, staying small and independent gives you the ability to do a lot of things in regards to the agility to be able to move to adoption of technology and to prioritize client experience.
Yeah, that's great. And I think for like a lot of advisors that I talk to, like that's why a lot of them get into the industry. It's like
Yeah.
you want to be able to spend the time with the clients. You want to be able to do what you think they need, not what corporate thinks they need.
That's
And
the worst thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
like we've all come from like I'm not sure where you started, how you started, but a lot of us started in a broker dealer or an insurance space, and we're like, I hate it. I can't stand this place. They're not paying me enough, and plus they're trying to force me to in this round hole, and I'm a square or whatever that looks like. But it's like, what can I do better? And then you go off here, and now you look at the space where it's consolidating so quickly. You're like, oh, are we going to be the next Carson Wealth or such and such and such and such? I don't want to be that. I want to remain small. We're going to grow independently, one advisor at a client, one advisor at a time, one client at a time. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, no, and I've been seeing a lot more people move into that model,
Yeah.
especially doing alternative like equity structures and
Yeah.
doing a lot of like almost more like what I've seen a really common structural setup is where you'll have like an overarching partnership that has all the regulatory done. And then
Mm-hmm.
underneath it, you have a series of S corporations that are owned, by the different advisors that are bought into the partnership. And then they're bringing on more independent people who like start 1099 and then do like an overhead share and then eventually get moved up into equity. But it's like, I don't know how new of a structure that is. Like I
Okay.
haven't, it seems like a lot of people I've been talking to are moving towards structures like that and just wanting to keep it where the organization is still really nimble, that they want to
Yeah.
grow to size so that they can have operational efficiencies. But like you were
Yeah.
saying, if, hey, this awesome AI tool just came out, our compliance consultant says it's fine, let's do it. And it's done, in a week, 2 weeks, rather than months of meetings and,
Yeah.
you know, just
I, I,
craziness.
I like what you just said there from a partnership perspective. One of my close friends, Tyrone Ross Jr., I'm not sure if you know who he is, 401 Financial. He says, whatever you do, if you're going to start something, start from a partnership perspective. Don't go in and start merging practices. Start with a partnership. And we have some partnerships on the horizon. I think there are going to be some good partnerships. Because it kind of gives you like, it's like dating, right? We're dating a
Mhm.
little bit, and then at the end of the day, did this work out? Okay, let's take it a little bit further, right? So it's a good way to do it for sure.
Yeah, it's just really common. Like that's I think, I kind of encounter two modes of advisors out there where,
Mhm.
I have and it's interesting because it really depends on the person's personality, I think, of who's running the firm and like what you want to build for yourself. Like it's so
Yeah.
idiosyncratic, but I see it kind of being in two models where some people where they start their RIA, they're sole owner, their intent to basically stay a sole owner. They might offer some incentive comp for junior advisors. And then once they get like mid to later in their career, they're going to start develop, hopefully earlier. But what I typically see is like, that's when they start to think about, okay, I'm in a succession plan. I'm going to sell this thing. I'm going to have my liquidity event. So you get like that camp of people. And then the other camp that I see a lot is they go into it already knowing, or just that this is their approach to it of, I know I want to have partners in this. I know we want to get it up to a certain size. I'm going to run my little side of the, my book,
Mhm.
like the lifestyle practice that I want, but I want other people at the table with me so that we can build the infrastructure of support underneath us. And I'm okay with us being kind of fairly siloed.
Yeah.
So it just depends. And it's funny, like and we were having a bit of this conversation in the pre-show, like
Yeah.
everybody's belief system around like how you charge your fees or like how you should be structured, or it's just so varied. But I feel like I get to see a good swath of it, um, just from the experiences of when people are setting things up, and it seems to me a lot of it comes back to personality type, like
Yeah.
personality style, and just what their ambition is for what they're trying to build, and it's so
Mhm.
different. Like I feel like the conversations I have with advisors, it's so, generally in a couple different buckets, but it, you just don't know what you can't, put everybody in a box. Just a slight interruption in this conversation. I wanted to bring to your attention two things that are important for you to know. So, we're always at the mercy of social media algorithms. So, if you can subscribe to the show, that would mean a lot to me. Even more to me if you can leave a rating and let me know what you think about it. But we have a new newsletter that's coming out. It's going to be very active in 2025 that is specifically around tax issues that I'm seeing advisors face in their own practices, changes in legislations, and the pieces that I think are critically important for you to stay ahead of as an advisor with the new administration. So nearby, wherever you're interacting with this, will be the link of how to sign up for our newsletter. Also nearby will be the link to my LinkedIn, which is the best way to get in touch with me, learn more about what we're doing for advisors in the tax strategy and compliance work that we do, and also to get access to the various tools and interviews and things that I do, specifically designed to help you improve your practice, improve your own tax situation, etc. So let's get back to the episode, and thanks for tuning in.
I got a question for you then. So when you're having these conversations and people talk about how should I structure my practice, we have a partnership, yada, yada, yada. Are they coming to you and saying, or are you seeing where we all have to be in line with the planning philosophy, or we all have to be in line with this, and this? Or is it like we can all be kind of siloed like you mentioned? Like what do you see more of?
Honestly, like I feel like in my practice, it's like 50-50. Like I
Yeah.
see, and it's really like a personality type thing. Like I have some clients where they're advisors where they're just a very dominant and things
Mhm.
must be a certain way. And
Yeah.
so for them to be in an environment where like, oh, I'm in my silo and then other advisors in their silo, but they're doing things differently. They really don't like that. They want a comprehensive, they like how they voice this, and whether or not
Mhm.
it's valid is another question, is,
Yeah.
they want a comprehensive brand experience for customers. A lot of them too are much more exit minded,
Mhm.
where they are really focused on exit planning early
Yeah.
on, and not just like, oh, I'm going to sell the business, but really I'm going to engineer this business in order for me to get my best multiple. And so those ones tend to be less of the siloed
Mhm.
in my experience, just because they want the control.
Gotcha.
Um, but then it feels like the other half is, and maybe, you know, in reality, the partnership model is way more common, but it's
Mhm.
just the
Yeah.
clients who tend to gravitate towards me. I get more of those
Yeah.
like dominant types, but it's on the other side, those partnership models, a lot of them they're fine with doing the silo thing, because a lot of them, their ambition is just to have a supportive, not like a lifestyle practice, like somewhere between a lifestyle practice and maybe what, something that them and the group of partners wants to have a liquidity event, or they know that they eventually want to move it back.
Yeah, and the biggest issue that you're going to be facing is going to be compliance, right? Like if you're going to have multiple people in your practice and they're all doing their own thing, that's a
Yeah.
compliance headache, right? So
Yeah.
it's going to be, if everybody's doing the exact same thing, I can see how it's being done, and therefore compliance. It makes compliance a lot easier, especially when I'm having that audit. I can say, well, this is what we all do. We all do it this way. So I know exactly where to go, where to get information, versus like, oh, this person uses an Excel spreadsheet. This person uses our CRM. This person uses this. It's like, no, that ain't happening, So that become a problem for sure.
Yeah, and I know for me, like just personally in my firm, I'm much more in the I want it to be a very consistent experience for the clients,
Yeah.
and I want to be able to, because it's a consistent experience, we can use metrics to improve our performance,
Mhm.
versus if the tax professionals within my firm were all working and doing everything their own way, like an artisan bakery or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like we can't get that consistency in the execution, in my experience, on the tax side. But so I wonder if it's the same on the advisory side. But it's
It probably is, because it goes
yeah,
back to multiples, right? Like you can't sell something that's 45 different silos. I mean, everybody has
yeah.
their own business, but what is that worth versus this is one business, one firm, non-I capital, boom, we all do it this way. It's a higher multiple for sure.
Yeah. No, and that's what I've seen with the clients doing the exit planning, is when you have that, consistent niche, good distribution of client ages, within a demographic, and all the internal documentation is really tight. Like you've got just all the areas that go into exit planning.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, there's like a fine line between the productizing advice
Yeah.
and still being person to person with your client.
Mhm.
So there's a really fine line there, but from some of the firms that I've been seeing, like getting the best multiples and doing things, realizing that finding the efficiencies where efficiency isn't sacrificing that person-to-person relationship with the client, but at the same time realizing, if you're running a firm and you own a firm, you're an advisor, but you're a business owner too.
Yeah.
And being a business owner is a different thing than just being an advisor.
Yeah. And that's I don't want to go off topic here, but that's one thing I talk about a lot. I'm like, running a business is about cash flow, right? How much revenue do you have coming in? How many different revenue streams do you have coming in? And when we talk about this fee only versus fee based versus commission versus all this other stuff, I'm like, hey, wouldn't you want to have as many revenue streams as possible, especially if you're running a business? And regardless of what you feel about one way of doing it or the other, my thing is, hey, I'm already doing most of the planning anyways. So if I'm doing insurance planning, right, or if I'm doing certain types of planning that's on a different side of the fence that's outside of fee only, well, I'm already being that advisor. I have that information and I want that under my roof as an advisor. Why not go ahead and place that for the client and still have that revenue stream come in? And I can control exactly where it goes. I don't have to say, oh, I'm sending it out here to such and such planner, and I don't know what they're doing with it. So that's just my take. I don't want to go off the rails here. I just get really upset about this whole argument.
Yeah, I'm not knowledgeable enough to have a dog in that fight.
We'll let that one go. But yeah, for sure. But like I said, from a practice perspective, it's all about cash flows. You want to have cash flows more than expenses, and to be able to build that up over time. And that's how you build a successful practice. It's not rocket science. So
yeah, well, it's like I always say it's the two sides of client acquisition and retention and ascension, talent acquisition and retention and ascension. And you're basically having to run those two wheels and make sure that they're going together. And that's how you grow and scale a practice, is getting those two acquisition funnels really dialed in to be cooperating, and so that you're not getting to a point where you have too many clients and not enough to service them, or too much staff and not enough clients, and then you cash flow burn. Like, it's just it's really a homeostasis as you grow kind of a game. But
and you mentioned this, too many clients. What is that number? Is it 50? Is it 75? Is it 100? It's always different for everybody. But for me, I think a sweet spot is between 75 and 100. Good, really, really good relationships. Now, when I mean really, really good relationships, I'm talking about, hey, I go out and have lunch with these people. We play golf together. I call them on the weekends. Those types of relationships, not just like a fly-by-night relationship. So
yeah,
the number constantly changes depending on your practice, but it's definitely a lower number than a lot of people think.
Oh yeah, I think that's right. So for people who are interested in connecting with you, Kevin, what are the best places to get in touch?
I mean, LinkedIn, of course, right? You can always go to LinkedIn, see Kevin Thompson, or you can go to Instagram, MLB to CFP, which is my book, of course, live on Apple and Amazon. You can go to MLB to CFP, which is on Facebook as well. Anything, like anywhere you go, it's always MLB to CFP, right? MLB to CFP. So I like using that because, again, it's the name of my book. But I just love what I do, man. I mean, if you gotta be in this business to love what you do.
Yes.
Make sure that you're using technologies that are going to increase your efficiency, like AI tools. And again, like I said, small RIAs, we can do this. We can use things like ChatGPT. I mean, I can put out messages, write books, do all this other stuff quickly versus taking years of my time to create that same thing. Was it 5 or 6 years ago? So don't be afraid to use technology. Don't be afraid to use AI. Don't be afraid to put that in your practice, however you want to do it, because that's going to make you more efficient and streamline you across your entire client base.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we'll post all of those nearby wherever people are interacting. And I want to say, thanks again for coming on, Kevin, and having the conversation. I really appreciate your thoughts and willingness to share.
Hey, I'm just here just to entertain, educate, and empower. And I want to make sure that I'm doing that for you guys. So again, anything you guys need, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Kevin. And for the advisors listening, thanks for joining. I'm always interested in hearing from you as well. So always happy to get a LinkedIn DM and tell me what you liked or you didn't like. But
we'll do.
This was another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast. And I'm Catherine Tindall. Thanks. Bye.